might be about a fifth event, is it? Fifth talk? Oh, wow. Someone at lunch reminded me we were here last September in the sunshine, so welcome to this one. And Thomas suggested this subject, which is how do we sell to retailers? I'm saying in a slightly modern world, but that might date me. But how do we use all the choices available to us to sell to our retailers? And we've done a little customer survey I'll share. We do this in association with Giftware Association. So Chris is with us, Greta's with us, and Gemma's with us. And Gemma's been very nice and let me say she's the new Sarah Ward, which we'll only do once.
Thank you.
Yeah. After today, you're Gemma in your own right.
Yes,
but so
much, yeah.
I think it's worth all of us coming and saying hello to Gemma,
Yes, please
as
do.
she's going to work in our best interest to make us better giftware companies. But today's topic is how do we sell more effectively to retailers in the way that they want and that it's cost effective for us. So we've got a special panel today. If they want, does everyone know me? I'm Clare, founded Talking Tables some 25 years ago. So I'm just the chair today. My background is selling, but they're going to do the talking. So Naz, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name's Naz. I've been with Talking Tables for almost 4 years, and I work part of the sales team, working with predominantly independents all over the planet. So mostly focusing on the US and using Faire as a platform.
Nice. I'm Andy. I run Bearkind. We're an animal saving sock brand with my wife Lucy, and we've also got an agency where we help, and the YouTube channel where we help people grow on Faire.
I'm Therese. I have a small consultancy business called Small Business Collaborative, where I help smaller brands grow their wholesale, and I help them with anything from pricing to strategy to selling. I started in the industry some 17 odd years ago, and I used to be head of sales at a couple of different companies.
Thank you.
Cool. I'm Matt. I'm a national account manager here at Talking Tables on the grocery side of the business. And then just prior, I was in the buying team at Hooper's Department Stores as well, which I know some faces actually from here.
So following on nicely from Matt's experience of being in retail, we wanted some sort of voice from the retailers because that's obviously who we're talking about. So our marketing team commissioned a survey. We have a CRM and it went out on I think our newsletter channel, business to business channel, and 76 mainly small retailers answered this. So we can just talk you through our questions and their answers. You may not like the answers, everyone, but we'll talk you through it. So again, it's maybe the phrasing of this, but we asked people, how do you most like to be sold to? Possibly we should have said, how did you like to buy? But we were being self-centric. And the majority of people said trade shows. Now, it makes sense, I guess they're going to visit, and they're visiting brands at the trade shows. They least like newsletters. Or sales reps. But you can see trade shows remain very important, which I think will be interesting to think about today and how we have to do that, even though potentially we know that they don't place as many orders as they used to. The second question is, how do you like to find new brands? And again, trade shows came up second. I think the 23% is Faire, then people's own brand websites, social channels and sales agents sort of last, and very little reference to consumer magazines. And then the next slide is how many trade shows on average do you attend a year? And the biggest number, which is 21 respondents, said 2 a year. It's not that many, really.
Yeah, you got 4+.
Yeah. We could have put a bit more, do you think? Yeah. Yeah. Given that it's their very favourite way to buy. Okay. Noted. What do you like about Faire? So they like it to find new brands, payment terms, shipping, etc. But I think when you speak to them, they find it very convenient and they say they're looking for new brands. So Faire feels like it's here to stay, or something very similar to it. And what is the main thing you look for when starting a new partnership? It was interesting, customer service comes very low, but I guess you want it when you've chosen someone. And the main thing there is realistic minimum carriage paid. They want to be able to test you and then design. So these are the things they're looking for. And to me, it was a bit surprising quite how big trade shows came out. So we know retailers have changed over time. They're busy. There's a lot more technology available to them when to buy. But our experience shows that when we put humans in front of them, our average basket size goes up. So we're going to sort of explore that balance between tech and humans on the panel. I don't know, I think most of you have been here before, but if you haven't, please chip in at any point. It's meant to be very interactive because you've all got experience, so we want to all kind of learn from each other. So just jump in if you feel there's something to say, which I'm hoping there will be. So don't feel you have to stand politely or anything. So one of the things I'm going to discuss is human versus machine as a selling tool. Andy and Naz, you have two different approaches. Andy, I'm going to call you machine approach. And Naz, we employ as a bit of human magic. So Andy, would you like to discuss and lead us off with how you're using technology as a cost-effective way to sell to retailers?
I think that's the main point. Obviously, there is definitely a space for a good-looking man like Naz. No wonder he's driving up, good basket value. But I think the main thing from a machine. Sorry, mate. You just set me up. Yeah. But the main thing I think is just the ability to get out to the long tail of retailers, and that's what Faire's always talking about. It's all about independent retail, and I think there are obviously agents that have done that, but the ability to have a always-on platform where people can see all of your stock levels, it's merchandise in the way that you want it, it's talked about in the way that you want it as a brand, is really strong. And I think I'm not surprised. A couple of years ago, that slide where Faire was number 2 for the best way to find things, it was non-existent. I mean, Spring Fair 3 years ago, everyone was saying, what's Faire? 2 years ago, it was like, I'm not so sure about it last year. Yeah, okay. This year, it was like, oh, you're on Faire. And it was almost kind of like a breakthrough, I felt at least. And I think that's only increasing. So I feel like as we continue to go, someone said some great stat around like Gen Z and millennials, as they continue to become more buyers, they're thinking more transactional than they're thinking relationship. Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think it's here as a part of the market. And so it's just about adjusting to that. And that's why, on Faire, we were quite lucky. There's some really big sock brands in this room, I know. And we started, quite early, and we got a little bit of a jump on that respect. And I don't think Bear Kind would have really grown as fast as it did from a retail perspective without the ability to go into independent retail through Faire. So that's kind of I guess, our own journey, our great experience, and then now we kind of help people with that.
So Naz, do you want to talk about how we're supplementing?
Yeah, so going back 3 years when it was mostly people-to-people selling or direct web selling, one of my main priorities was to improve conversion rate, and that only came around by actually talking to people, actually sending an email, giving them a bespoke approach, even creating bespoke documents for them. And of course, as time has moved on and we've moved on to Faire, we're trying to translate that into Faire as well. And it's just simple things such as looking at a customer's basket that they haven't purchased yet, and you can go. And these are new customers that not have that. I call them leads. And this way you can kind of build that relationship, build that trust, and build that basket. What I've also done for a few years now is do a report similar to that, which is a face-to-face versus direct versus Faire on AOV. And what you'll know for a fact is that the AOV on a face-to-face sale is sometimes 4 times as much than a basket on a Faire sale. But the way we overcome that and keep that repeat customer is literally calling the customers up, having a conversation, building a relationship, and it's kind of old school, but it's using new technology, combining it with the old way to get the results that you really want, and building relationships so they keep coming back. A lot of people will take advantage of that first order and they'll move on to another company. But to keep that retention, that human touch is needed for sure.
And you'll always call them rather than message.
It'll be a combination of the two. So when you've got a big bank of customers, you really need to choose. You've got to pick your battles, basically. So we would look at engagement levels. We look at people that are opening our campaigns. We'll see who our best customers are. And there's, of course, people that are falling off. There's so many different ways of categorizing our customers. So say for example, we have cash use passive that have not bought for a while that we want to bring back. And then there's our lifetime value customers, up and coming customers, and then breaking that down into further brackets, which are how do we approach these individuals to make sure they keep coming back to us.
Because I think one of the things that we also all find is breaking through the noise. Our retailers get a lot of emails or a lot of calls. So how do you make your brands come to the top? So one of the things we're going to talk about as the next stage is how we break through that noise. So Therese and Matt, you're both trying to do that and specialise in that. Therese, so how do you advise brands to break through that barrier of just being one of many?
I think that inboxes has gotten insane. Like, you know, I remember a time where I could get my inbox to 0. It does not happen, and I'm not even a buyer anymore, you know. So it just does not happen. But retailers I speak to, they say that they're overwhelmed by the emails and they just have to go delete all sometimes. You know, they just can't keep on top of it. It's really hard. So I think that the way we write our emails has to change, and I work a lot with my clients on that, because people have changed how they consume content. So on social media, it's all about having a hook. And I think in an email now, it's all about having hooks. So you need a verbal hook, like a written hook, you need a visual hook, you need to make them feel something right off the bat. Whether that means that it's something funny, that they make you smile so that you feel a little bit good, you might continue reading. You can't start an email, I think, anymore with, "Hi, I hope you're well," because you're wasting the most valuable space. Like, who's going to reply? Who's going to continue? It just looks like a sales email right away, right? So just like scrap all the, you can still be nice. I'm not saying you can't be nice, but because I did write this in a newsletter recently, and she's like, "But I like that bit. It's nice to be nice." And I'm like, you can still be nice and make the email personal, but you have to grab people so much quicker. I think it used to be that we had seconds to grab people. I actually think it's very low now. So you have to think about that.
Like kind of the,
I kind of call it sticky copy in the beginning. So, you know, I break it down to like emotional stats can work really well. For example, so if you have a bestseller that is outperforming everything else and everyone is buying it and reordering, just saying like, most customers reorder this within a week, or, you know, anything that can be helpful and valuable for the retailer to know can work really well. I had another brand that had a really quite emotional story, and she started with that, and then no one can not reply to her because, you know, so it's about how much you want to sell your soul. But it works, you know. But if you can make someone see something, I saw a podcast where there was some specialist on how we, on humanness, I suppose, and she said, if you can make someone as soon as you meet them feel good in some way, then you're done. You know, they're going to be so much more approachable, and I think that's really important. That's why old tricks back in the day, you know, giving people at a trade show a chocolate bar, or you know, was it Sass and Bell that used to do like cocktails and popcorn and stuff? You know, things like that work sometimes. So how can you bring that into email form, I suppose?
And that leads into, Matt, what you do.
Yes. So I think we try and work on, in sort of our side of the business, is on more on the added value to emails. So while the subject is really important of the email in itself, just to hope that they even open it in the first place, but obviously when they do, is to make it worth them sticking around. So we do quite a lot of surveying of the market and things, which is really, really valuable to the buyers. It's actually one that a lot of buyers will respond to, saying thank you for this, even if it doesn't result in anything, but they at least acknowledge it and take the time to say thanks. We do a lot of things like trends reports, which again, like a lot of the buyers, particularly on the bigger customers, are so time limited, so they aren't able to go out to visit so many stores. They aren't able to look into the trends as much. So being able to sort of do part of their job for them, which then, again, adding value as a partner, you're just keeping that front of mind, and they slowly will build their engagement with you because you're becoming that, trusted person, and it's just really building that. Which we found is really valuable. Surveys and things, as I said, like we actually get responses, but they obviously quite often lead to a conversation about something where if you've seen that, I don't know, in our instance, paper tableware at this particular event sells well, but they haven't thought about doing that before, it suddenly sparks that conversation. So it's catching on with that, I think. But just. Keeping them engaged.
Yeah, for the long term.
Yeah.
Dealing with maybe only 25 buyers, but other people are doing 2,000.
Where we find trade shows work is newness. So people that come to the trade shows and see our new products often order them, and the buyers that don't stick with the products that we've got already and just don't expand it.
What we decided to do this year was actually do smaller stands, but different shows. So we did, for instance, London Stationery Show. This was the second time that we tried it, and we also did Farm Shop and Deli Show.
Yeah.
As a completely different entity. Again, just to try it with a small stand that was workable. Both of those shows was shows that I could do with a car, just put stuff in a boot. I'm jealous of anybody who does things like calendars and greeting cards and socks and stuff. It's not the shows you need to take a bag. Blah, blah, blah.
Do you like the easy life?
I've been doing this for 15 years. I think I've been 30 years.
But does it work? In all seriousness, I feel the same. We should keep 20% of the budget back to do something we've never done before. Would you?
It was more
Did it work?
Just breaking the mold a little bit. That it just felt like we were a bit stuck in a rut. Trying the same show, seeing the same people come to the show, which is, it's nice to see. It's lovely going to a show and seeing people that you know. But it is a bit of where are the new people? Especially where some of the people that you've been working with for many years have retired, closed, moved on. Trying to find those new people. It's that's what you do trade shows for. You do it to try and find new business.
People,
and when you're not finding it from your
same old,
exactly. When you go and those shows were a little bit we did stick out a little bit sometimes maybe for the wrong reason and be like, what the hell are you doing here? You don't sell stationery.
But I think the shows are really important from the kind of information you showed. I think even if it's from a show or online, I think the key is that the retailer wants to find us. They don't want us to find them. That as long as you're setting up a good physical booth or a physical store on a platform with good imagery, good marketing materials, video content, as long as you're laying it out properly, they want to find you. That's
I think the survey shows they like it. It's just we may have to measure it differently. How you get. Naz, would you like to? Because obviously we're the same, trying to make the most of a show and the effort. How do you feel you're with your independent market trying to maximise a trade show?
I feel like trade shows have changed a lot because of Faire and the way people shop, but I think it's also keeping up with that. I absolutely love trade shows. I think it's a great opportunity to grow your data, your leads and database.
Are you US or UK or
both actually, both. Yeah. So in the UK, just as an example, I do the work before the trade show and after the trade show, and I insist the technology is all set up for during the trade show, so we can get as many leads as we can at the trade show and immediately followed up by a automated flow that goes through for 3 or 4 weeks that I monitor to ensure that we are getting everyone that was at the trade show. Because I feel like although people aren't placing orders at the trade show, it's become, less people are, it's becoming more of a lead taking exercise. You're getting more customers that way. And of course, to kind of drive excitement, we also got a flow pre-show. So maybe 4 weeks before the show starts, we have a message going out every week to various groups of different customers, sending a different message with different sort of products that we will be showcasing at the show, and then one just before the show, and then there's the follow-ups, and that's the more of the personal touch. From what I've sort of just taken top drawer that we've just done recently, for us it was a really good show, but Tim was saying that it wasn't as many orders as we would like, but the follow-up's been fantastic. The new customers that we had, buyers that are visiting the stand, we're taking their data in, and the response that we're getting after the shows has been fantastic. And of course we will encourage people to shop through Faire where we feel like it's necessary, because we don't want to take customers away from Faire or from direct. We want to give them the ease of shopping wherever they feel comfortable, but that person, again, it's coming to that personal touch after the show. That encourages the sales of more customers.
Automated flow thing you do after the shows, what does that look like? Does that look like mainly through newsletters, or do you have, for instance, a certain email that you already templated out for each customer?
Sure. So it is both. So we have three different funnels on the marketing platform. So that would be new leads, existing customers, two, that would be the main two. And then I'll go through a CRM system that would send a very bespoke email to that lead base, which I can monitor the engagement as well. So then I can really choose or prioritise who we're going to go after.
We hate the last day of the show because, especially Spring Fair, it goes on until Wednesday. I mean, thank God they got rid of the Thursday. Those are the two and all the others remember that. But there is
that was awful.
From our point of view, if that show closed on Tuesday night, we would write zero extra money, and we'd all have a lot less costs. So, I know they wanted to stay till Wednesday, but really they need to just squeeze it in, and I think that goes for all the shows. So Harrogate way too long. Same with Top Drop. Now, none of us are going to pay any less for that. That's a reality. But if we all have one day less of expenses, then it can make the show more viable.
So what we could do after this, we could do a little survey. We can do, is it Chimp Monkey or something? We can put a little questionnaire together, and if you all chip in, then we can collate our answers. Would that be useful?
Can I ask a question before we move on from treasures? That we tend to not do the Clarion events, not because I don't like Clarion and I love Hive. It's more that my bills from Clarion just seems to be way higher, and I can't justify those extra costs. Is that?
Yeah.
Does everybody else feel the
That's
same?
true, and I feel that just the tone of communication. So on the Wednesday before Autumn Top Draw, I got an email saying rebook for next year. You'll get the same rate, but actually you've got your head down preparing. You haven't really got the headspace to sign. Well, you have, but to sign a form, you feel as though that's a conversation to have afterwards. And I always feel that quoting, well, we're 95% rebooked. I don't want to hear that,
And it's not true.
And it's not true. So I think it's that communication back to the suppliers. Just really, we are their customers at the end of the day. We've got our customers who are the retailers, but we are their customers.
Yeah.
So actually, I think we need a bit of a stronger voice. And just to the point of post the Connect thing at Autumn Fair a couple of years ago, that sparked Hive doing an advisory board, which I sit on.
I think the small brands that I work with are really good on Instagram in general. I say Instagram, but it could be TikTok or YouTube or whatever platform they prefer. But I think they're really good at it because they're owner-led, and so is a lot of shop owners, Instagram. So they have this direct channel to get all those touch points in that we talked about in a much more casual way. So, answering a story of like a new delivery they took into store, and then referencing that in an email an hour later is a lot more human. Like we were talking about, we talked a lot in our preparation for this about, that we need to bring humanness back into selling because of AI and the busyness and the noise. And I think we can use social media for that. And I have people that I work with that has tried like close friends groups. So they do special content just for stories for their close friends where they engage with people. They do obviously reply. They do things like tag them when they send orders out. Can't wait to see it in your store. Then the store returns the favor. It becomes a much more engaging thing. Of course, I appreciate a lot of you have a much bigger company where it's maybe not possible, but me and Joe was talking about it. You know, you can do maybe a WhatsApp group or other ways of doing that where it can work, where you can meet them where they are. It's quick and easy. They don't have to respond to everything, but they can get added value, like you were talking about, whether it is a trend that is blowing up at the moment, or whether a product all of a sudden got featured in somewhere and it's blowing up, or if you are picking between pink and blue, you know, get them involved in a much more engaging way. And I think that social media is a great way to do that.
Has anyone, I haven't even heard of this, what do you call it, close friends?
Yes.
I hadn't heard of that, but has anyone else doing it? It sounds like a great idea to build a little community. As I understand it, you choose your friends, in this case independent retailers, and you feed them stuff that you're not feeding your general.
I also have like some clients that has like a separate wholesale, like just Instagram channel just for their
I mean, it's interesting,
retailers.
this morning on the bus, I watched Tim on Instagram. I went into the comments, it said how good looking you are.
Just getting on the bus.
I was impressed, I didn't know what was happening. But it said, Tim was showing our new spring ranges on Instagram on the bus this morning, and people have chipped in and said,
on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. But it said how much they loved our new products, but which specific products they were looking forward to. So I fed that to our stock people, that they're the hot products.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I thought it was interesting. My bus ride more interesting. Is anyone else using social media to sell?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the opposite of that. That's but I would say that's amazing. And one of the things that we did is like give your retailers a reason to be really proud to stock your products and give them all of the thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds we all spend on photography and imagery and make that all available. And just it should just be the default that the moment you purchase with us, you can feel really confident that, you know, I'm going to put up a story for my local, you know, high street people that maybe my mum looks and goes, oh, look, you have a new flower that I need to get, or something, you know, something to that effect. So make that really easy. I think that's the first point on Therese's point. I think it really works there. The other part that we have is we're not a massive brand, but we have like 100,000 leads on our Faire profile because we've just gone and just consistently added more and more and more. And I do think that cold email doesn't work unless it's done at scale. And the other thing that I think is kind of that third part is then how do you connect that all into the algorithm? And the number one thing that we try to do with brands is make them category winners. And the thing that Faire came out and said recently, a couple of things. One, that 50% of their GMV is going through search. And then the other part of it, and the best way to get to the top of search is to be the number one for conversion rate within your category. So when someone's searching for it, they've got however many 100,000 products now, they've ranked every single one of those products based on conversion rates. And so everything that you can do to get people clicking those views, get them coming back, I think that's then the next point of getting them coming back on a repeat basis. Across all of our clients, comparing first orders to total GMV, first orders is 8% of total GMV. And the number one thing that Faire gets paid on is the commission on people that keep coming back. So everything that you can do to bring them back at scale, that's why we focus on the email, for example. It is saturated, but if you're doing email and someone else isn't in your space, you're going to be 1% better than them, which means you're top. And everyone kind of intuitively gets now that if you're second page of Google, why bother? If you're third on Google, it's okay. But if you're first on Google, it's great for your business. And it's the same thing on Faire and just applying that, but you can go a bit more broad-based. So that's what we do, and just make it as easy. There's still a space for that, I think, for sure, but you probably need to do both.
Yeah. Naz, how do you measure the impact of your newsletters?
There's a couple of ways. I mean, first of all, I do like both of these ideas. I think both combined is the best way to kind of engage with your customer. But the way we see what our customers are doing is we've got Klaviyo, which is a marketing platform that our marketing team uses. So that comes in the form of a newsletter. And that, again, we can see the engagement. That is kind of like a wide net kind of reach to our customers, but then we also segment. So we also look at top customers and or see a category of customers and we curate that message to another small net of people, and then just watch the engagement over the coming weeks to then make that personal touch, to make that call. One thing that we do on Faire as well, which I would highly recommend you guys do, is that when you get a new customer, just share your library. We do that with every single customer. We give them the link, log in, and they have access to the library, and we encourage that they use this on their social media and on their websites. So they are, and that just makes their life a lot easier as well, and no cost to them at all. And I find we get repeat customers through that because we're giving away something rather than trying to sell something. Yeah, and just going back to engagement, it can be done through Salesforce, it can be done through Faire campaigns. So we do a wide net campaign in Faire as well, and then the segmented ones as well. So then there's a more bespoke, and then there's a wide net, sort of like more like a company newsletter, and then there's our customers that buy games. This is the new game selection.
And is it obvious that you measure the revenue from Shopify? I don't know if presumably everyone does that. I don't know.
It's actually into Shopify, so every time a customer's clicked into an email or opened a link in an email, again it can be measured against that sale or that customer placing the sale via direct. Yeah, and it's the same on Faire as well. So Faire has gone through, as you guys know, click on an email or a campaign, they'll come through. As it comes through, so it comes as a metric.
One thing I did that worked quite well at when I was doing quite a lot of shows last year is that we would send in the follow-ups, we would send people a picture of the booth so they could remember like what booth they came to. If you think all these buyers are talking to like hundreds of people at the show, but if you've particularly spent loads of money on doing a really nice booth, we used to do that, and that was always quite good idea.
We did that too with the salesperson.
We haven't discussed salespeople. I mean, I don't know if everyone here is in the sales team, but it feels for me that salespeople, and I would be one of those, is a luxury that we can only afford so many of them. So you have to apply them to the biggest accounts. And then we've got sales reps in the UK, which are largely good. But I guess we're using all these tools. Well, it's true. I guess everyone's the same. They've got a top one and a less top one. All these tools are to help mitigate the cost of salespeople and cost of selling. Does anyone have any view on cost of salespeople or how to use salespeople, or are we all just trying to reduce the number of? Is that a sensitive topic? You're a salesperson. You're expensive.
I think you need more sales support than a traditional salesperson in a car going around like that. I think you need somebody who is a point of contact, office-based as such, for said retailer. Someone who the retailer can call up and talk to, and or that person can just reach out and stuff. So basically, we call them sales and marketing support.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's somebody who is kind of not overselling, but also it's somebody who is there to be a happy helper and is also knowledgeable on the products and stuff like that. Fix the problems. It fixes the problem without having sometimes the ego when it comes with some.
No, it's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah. James, did you say you're working in harmony with agents and Faire? Have you found a nice way?
Yeah, I think we tried to bring the agents with us on that journey when we started up. So sort of said we were doing it. There was a launch point. It costs us a bit more, so we still give the agents commission, even if Faire are taking 25 and then 15 on the next one. That's not sustainable forever, but it's what we've done to start with for the last 18 months to 2 years, and I think it's good.
Nice margins.
It's very nice.
But it's encouraged them to embrace it and work with it and not see it as this threat and death of the salesman. And I think there are some customers that don't want to shop that way, that are still traditional, and they're good retailers that don't turn Faire on. And that's where agents do, work for you, and probably, as you say, the good ones are in there selling them something, so it's a much quicker.
I think an agent can front end your season, can't they? They can give you the first big order, and the retailer might on a Sunday evening do the little Faire top up. I think there's a lot of using it like that. Yeah, so that you want both, don't you?
Goes back to the average order value being bigger, right? With the face to face.
The thing we talked about earlier, where you've got Faire customers, but then you're approaching them
separately, but you're not trying to pinch the business
Yeah, so
to
we
go to the website.
Yeah, correct. So what we're doing is also we've managed to get email addresses for all our contacts on Faire as well. So we're doing direct emailing to these guys, which is great because we're not pushing them to sell direct. And going back to the point of agents and Faire, we're doing it a little bit opposite to how you're doing it. So when the first order does come in, we'll keep them on Faire, we'll pay Faire the commission, but we'll give the agent all the details. So we're going to pay commission at some point, but if they place the order direct, they'll get the commission direct, and if they place the order on Faire, we'll pay commission to Faire. So it's kind of it's giving them the opportunity to grow that basket, grow their customer base. And I think it puts them on their toes a little bit as well, which is great because they can see all the different companies or customers that we're selling to that they could have gone there before.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because Faire is seeing this as an issue, and in the next 6 to 12 months, I recently did a demo with them of what they're doing to help sales agents. In the US, it's a much bigger issue from what I understand, and they're going to integrate way more with sales agents. So their view is that it's an important part of the industry that isn't probably going to go anywhere super quickly. Sure, Faire's disintermediating it somehow, but there are a lot of brands that are still not on Faire, which they want to get, and a lot of retailers who are still sitting with the rep groups and the like. So they're looking to invest into that place. So, what you're doing at the moment sounds really good, and it's probably going to become easier.
Yeah, they were talking about giving logins to the individual agents as well to actually be able to be part of it.
Makes sense to take off from Pixel and become or your web.
Will they be able to take orders on Faire then when they're out on the road?
It's one option, but even as we said about capturing somebody and capturing those leads, sometimes it gets lost in time, and the retailer within minutes places the order, it's all gone.
We said about having kind of like a kind of feedback towards the trade shows.
Yeah.
I think also it might be a good thing to try and see if there's a way of engaging directly with Faire as well through the association.
Me and Gemma talked about that this morning.
So just carry on selling with new methods. But I thought it was really interesting, and personally found new ways that we could talk to retailers. Is there anyone else wants to add at this point? No? Well, thank you all so much for coming. It's really good and sharing. Yeah.